Remember the story about the country mouse and the city mouse? Well, I want to touch on that today on provincial life with the caveat that there has to be a major city on that island, okay? Touch on small island and touch on city life in the Philippines. What is going to work best for you? The other part that I'm going to make sure that we cover off is I'm always going to keep asking the question, what is important to you now, but then translate that to your much older years. I do not buy into if I go, I go. Let's start from the standpoint of point A to point B. 7,000 islands. People live along the highways. We're talking boats. We're talking airplanes. We're talking V-hires. We're talking personal vehicles. None of it happens fast, guys. So airplane, hurry up and wait. You got to be there X amount of time before, or, yada, 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 just to be able to get a flight, right? So that's going to take time. So you're going to kill a whole day just trying to fly somewhere. Similar with the boat, it's going to be a very similar situation. And our experience with the boats is that they've been very, very, very early in the morning because they chug at about the speed I'm walking right now. Very slow. But let's get into it from a emotional standpoint of where you want to live. And I don't mean emotional. I mean, what is important to you, okay? Lynn and I are kind of loners, okay? We enjoy each other's company. And when you talk about Angolese and how many foreigners used to be there 10 years ago, stressing very strongly, used to be. Out of that, we carved out one or two key friends. And so much so with John and Flora that, we're going to fly back and forth to be able to visit them. That's the kind of friendship that we ended up developing. But that part is, what is important to you? Is it important to have a bunch of, acquaintances? I say that deliberately. Are you going to do what Lynn and I do to visit John and Flora? And that is friendship, deliberately going out of your way. But if you decided to change your environment, would you do the same for your other buddies? And I suggest that maybe that's not the case, because all we have to do is cite when we were working and how many of those workmates or buddies turned out to be, friends, okay? So, are you prepared to, do the, as we do, have the opportunity to do, which is the BOGO meet and greet, where, anywhere from maybe 5 guys might show up to 25 guys, depending on what's happening, and et cetera, et cetera. And, just sort of chewing the fat and all that sort of thing. But are you going to go out of your way to have dinners with these people, et cetera, et cetera? And again, is that important to you? Provincial life, where Lynn and I are living, for us to be able to work our way down to Cebu City, and I'm using that on purpose for the hospitals, got to have a hub that you're talking about, right? That's 3 hours to go 100 kilometers. Kind of worst case, but, it has happened to us. You're not going to be able to drive that every day of the week. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday are impossible days on the highway. Why? Motorcycle clubs. They've all got their time off, and for a motorcycle, you could go up to the top end of the island, have a coffee with a bunch of buddies and drive all the way back again. That is what tourism is about here in the Philippines. A lot of it has to do with that type of thing. I've been quite surprised to see how many people are banging around, but then they're not availing of the beach hotels and that type of thing. So, for us, it's kind of a plus, okay? Because I'm close enough to the city. but I'm yet far enough away from the city. And, all of that context needs to be worked out when you are deciding where to live in the Philippines. Let's touch on noise. City noise is that classic city noise. It's a drone that just keeps happening. And, motorcycles, traffic lights taking off, and there's this drone of motorcycles that take off. And sure, some of them have the chicken pipes, some don't have the chicken pipes, but it is a noise that comes and then goes. We have yet in the city of Mandaue or Cebu run into the 6-foot tall speakers and a boom, 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 boom. You are going to, depending on the time of year, experience a lot of that in the provincial life. Now, I have to say this, we did not experience that in other areas. So did we just run into it because it was Christmas and we were building and we didn't have doors to close and all of that type of thing? Not to the degree that the house is much quieter than what the garage is. But again, what is important to you in this whole process? Buying a place on the beach and all that romance, that's probably not something that you really, really want to consider here. I know a number of people that have bought beachside and they haven't taken into account storm surging. They've looked at high tide, low tide, but if you look at the land itself, as we did around the Canuck area, north of Bogo, south of Medillion, or in the Medillion area, and long plains going out, okay? And yes, a lot of people living on there, but you can see that if a storm surge is happening, it goes all the way through there. So be careful about that kind of thing. That's a little bit off topic here though. Lifestyle as you age is going to change, okay? It's easy to turn around and say, "Meh, if I go, I go." Yeah, right. As you get older, your attitude starts to change, your acceptance of certain things start to change, and you're subtly, because you're growing into it, obviously, you're adjusting to that different way of life. Maybe you're watching way more TV and such. So, at the age of 65, that sounds boring as heck. I don't want to live that life. Yeah, talk to me when your grandkids are there. For a lot of you, children, come here at 65 and have a child. Met a guy yesterday. I said, "That's your son," and he's 80 something, and his kid is 14. He's never been able to throw a ball with his kid. Anyway, that's a sidetrack. But what's important, right? So he's in his 80s. Obviously, he wants to see his son growing up, right? So then we've got the small island life. And that, again, comes back to this hospitalization and length of life feeling. Right now, because Lynn and I have got a bigger plan for what we did in Bogo, San Romejo area, and so that is actually accelerated, which we are happy about. So if I were to be looking at a location in a much more secluded island, I can bounce back here if I find my health is getting there, or I'm at that age where I might need that emergency medical care, a la the heart attack or whatever, right? So again, if you're thinking of buying land, weigh these things out, guys. The romance when you're 65 is not the same thing as when you're 75 or older. So take a little bit of that into account. Even Lynn and I, when we talked about the house that we built, it's only 60 square meters, and it's got another 40 square meters of deck. But both Lynn and I have said we probably would have built 30 square meters with maybe a 20 square meter deck, because we live outside so much. We go places a lot. We will go up to a mountaintop or whatever and bang around up there and enjoy the vistas. We will bang off to a beach area and, you know, make our way through the squatters to get to the beach and enjoy a little bit of conversation here and there, and you know, sometimes share some wealth in the form of food. I never, ever, 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 ever give money to a person in need. Only food, only ever food. Yeah, guys, this conversation is more about a ramble of make sure that you have your ducks in a row mentally as to what you're expecting out of the Philippines. Yes, it's got the English. Boom. When you go provincial, not so much. When you go provincial, right now, you're going to probably see about 30 to 40% masking. If you come to the city, 80%. 80% are walking around with masks, okay? They just are, you know. Even this morning, as I've been standing here doing this video, people had been passing me. They're all prepared to wear the mask, so it's on the chin, it's whatever it is. And that is just reality. So if those types of things drive you crazy, don't come to the Philippines at all. I mean, really, don't come. Especially if you want a city life. You know, this is now a part of the culture. The under 40s especially have more than embraced the mask as a part of their getting dressed in the morning. Okay, I think that's enough of a ramble for today. I want to do a little bit more of these types of things because, you know, I think one of the things that gets missed, and you're hearing the dog noise, right? You know, there's no such thing as phoning up the city and saying, I've got a chronic dog noise problem. It ain't gonna happen, guys. Okay, the police are not here to help on those types of things. Okay, there we go. Let's wrap this one up. We'll find more topics. Got to go back in and see how the tiling is going in the house here. Later, Gators.